Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to Watchers Podcast with your hosts, Brad and Colson.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Why are you doing this to us?
Because you were home.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name's Brad, here with Colson Oliver.
Hello.
Colson, how are you doing today?
Doing good. And yourself?
Pretty good.
It's good.
A little sleepy, but besides that, not too bad.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Seems.
Yeah. Small children and
Yep.
all that fun stuff.
That's right. That's life.
Yeah, but I've consumed caffeine, so
That's
hopefully halfway through this episode I'll pick up.
Yes.
Have you been watching anything this week?
I did. I watched the original Exorcist and the second one.
Okay.
Which we were talking about it while we watched it, my wife and I, and might be the biggest drop off from like what is considered a masterpiece type thing. I mean, 7 Oscar nominations. It's in the top 250 of all time.
Yeah.
The second one, oof, it's not good.
No.
I had seen it once before, but it's been like 20 plus years. So it might as well have been a first watch for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did not need to happen. It doesn't really follow. I don't know. It kind of tells a story of the demon.
Yeah.
But we don't really need to know that. You know?
Yeah.
It's strange.
Was that one in theaters as well? Do you
I
know?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we watched the second one, and then we also watched the third one. Again, it's a better movie than the second one, but it's The Exorcist 3. It doesn't really fit with the original. I don't know. Strange.
Yeah, I've only ever watched the original, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like back then it was different. Like, a big movie came out, they didn't care about the sequel at all.
Yeah.
Like, even, I hear, like, Jaws 2.
Right.
Like, I haven't watched it yet,
Yeah.
but I hear it's really bad.
Yeah.
Like, so many movies like that, where now, if there's a sequel, it's because it's part of, like, a bigger thing. Like,
Right.
they're trying to make it a franchise. Where back then it seems like
Yeah.
didn't care, or I don't know.
And it has Linda Blair in it, who played Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
She was young in the first one, like 12 or whatever, and in this one she's probably 16 or 17.
Okay. Same character?
Same character, yep. Her mother's not in it, but it does have the actress from Cuckoo's Nest, the mean fucking Nurse Ratchet.
Oh, yeah.
She's in it. So it's got a good cast.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know. And I read some things online. People are like, if you take The Exorcist out of this and watch this for what it would be without the original, it's a good movie.
Oh, okay.
And it is, I get where they're coming from, but it's still, for me, not good. So, anyway. Yeah, that's what I watched.
Nice.
What about you?
I watched a couple of movies this week.
Okay.
Which is a lot for me.
Good.
Yeah. Finally went to see Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Right.
Totally lived up to the hype.
Awesome.
I loved it. Kale loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Audra was into it.
Yeah.
Because Tails is cute. And
right.
she loved him. Yeah. No, it took everything from the first movie and just kind of amped it up a bit.
Okay.
It knows, like, people are here to see Sonic, so there's a lot of Sonic in it, which is nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, like, they have a whole side story where it's like, oh, like, human people are going to Hawaii for a wedding.
Right.
So for large chunks of the movie, you don't see them at all.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny again. Like, everything was good. Idris Elba as Knuckles is fantastic.
Okay.
He's kind of like a little bit like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he doesn't quite understand Earth things.
Okay.
Like, there's one scene of him playing baseball, and he's like, why do I run around the bases? Just to go back to where I originally began. Like, stuff like that. Yeah. He's really funny. Yeah, it was good. Okay. Highly recommended.
It's good. Was it busy when you went to the theater?
Went to the theater on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
Not super busy.
Okay.
There was a few people in the theater, but not a ton.
And are they still spacing out seats?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which is really funny because I went to a concert about a month ago now, I guess. Blue Rodeo. And everyone's just jam-packed, shoulder to shoulder. And then I was like, kind of like culture shock again. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, this isn't what we do anymore.
No, it's weird because it has changed in certain places, but you watch certain sporting events down in America and they're packed and have been packed for months, and up here it's could be either way. Yeah. So, yeah. Weird.
And the other movie I watched was White Oleander?
White Oleander. I think. That's how I've always heard it.
Yeah. It was good.
Okay.
Didn't really know anything about it going in.
Right.
Knew Renee Zellweger was in it, so I didn't have high hopes because I'm not a fan.
Okay.
She was fine. She was good in that show, The Thing About Pam.
Right.
I talked about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I might not dislike her as much as I thought I did.
Okay.
She doesn't play a huge part in this movie. Probably like a 15-20 minute section of it. Okay. Yeah, as far as a movie, like, easy watching, the pace is, like, quick.
Okay.
It was really good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so now that we've talked about movies, we're going to talk about another movie.
That's right.
This is an episode I've been wanting to do for a little while, and I'm pretty excited.
Right.
We are going to talk about Pool Party Massacre.
Right.
Written and directed by Drew Marvick. He's one of my favorite people in, like, the Instagram horror community. Always has really funny stuff up.
Yeah.
Had videos of him making a candy cannon to shoot candy to the kids at Halloween.
Nice.
Whenever there was like social distancing and stuff. Seems like a really nice guy. And he made this movie.
He did.
I'll let you
run the plot down.
Run the plot.
Yeah, this is starring a bunch of people that probably aren't known.
I would have to say.
Yeah, I didn't write any of them down. But, yeah. Plot is, what started out as a relaxing summer day by the pool for a group of high-maintenance young socialites quickly becomes a nightmare when an unknown killer begins stalking and murdering them one by one.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yep. I will mention, too, it's available on Tubi.
Yeah, that's where I watched it.
And it's on Prime, too, I guess.
Okay.
But I had watched it on Tubi as well.
Yeah, you get ads on Tubi. It's strange. It's ads starting in 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and then it runs through 2 minutes or whatever. And it's nice in a way because you kind of get, okay, I got a 2-minute break here. I can run, use the washroom or whatever.
I thought the same thing. It was weird.
It's kind of like watching TV in the 90s, like commercial run.
Exactly.
But you could still pause it at any point. It's not like you couldn't do that. But
exactly. But there's something nostalgic about it that was kind of fun watching it that way.
Exactly.
I love the 8-bit opening theme song.
Yeah, very cool.
That was cool.
Very cool.
It kind of gives away how everyone's going to die.
Yeah, it does.
Almost.
It shows some of them,
Yeah.
and yeah. We are spoiling this movie, correct?
Yes.
So we'll give a spoiler alert now.
Yes.
And it is a shorter movie, too. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes, maybe even shorter without credits.
Yeah, and it flies by.
It does. But, yeah, you had suggested this one. I didn't know anything about it, but yeah.
Yeah, super low budget.
Yeah.
Fairly simple plot, but I thought it worked. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, you're not watching this one because you think it's going to win Oscars. This is very much like a B movie.
Yeah.
Like, just for fun, slasher.
Yeah,
movie.
exactly, yeah.
Like,
the opening scene with the woman, she's looking sexy by the pool, and she's trying to get the attention of a pool boy who is cleaning her pool. And that just made me laugh right away, because it films her, and it does like a porn music, like that 80s, like, you know, that type of, as she's like lotioning herself, and she's like, oh, come and help me. And it cuts to him, and he's fucking blaring metal music, and he doesn't even see or hear her.
Yeah, his headphones
just
on,
skimming the pool, and I thought that was really funny. And he finally does notice her, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Mrs. Whatever," and she's like talking to him, and it cuts back to him, and he's just back to listening to his music. He doesn't give a shit. It was really funny.
Yeah. I thought there was some really good humor in this movie, actually.
Yeah, very much so, considering they're not... A lot of these people, I don't even know if they are like professional actors, because jumping to the credits, he says favors, like he's done on favors, so I'm thinking like, okay, are these people his neighbors in real life? Or are they, you know...
Yeah, just friends?
Friends or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, everybody pulled it off. It was good.
Yeah. There's one line super early in the movie.
Yeah, I have. This is my next
that
note.
I was just like, I'm in. Like, this is the funniest thing. The parents are telling one of the girls, Blair, I think her name is, like, all right, you guys can have the pool party, like, but behave. And they're like, no threesomes.
Yeah.
and then they're like, well, that's how we met. Like, this was in a threesome. He's like, okay, threesomes are fine, but not the devil's threesome.
Yes.
And that just cracked me up so much.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in.
Now, I have to ask you, did you know or do you know now what that is?
No.
Okay. So when I heard that, I was like, what the hell is a devil's threesome? So I typed it in, and I got an answer.
Oh,
okay.
fun.
So it comes up as devil's three-way online. But same thing. Okay, so it's the preferred phrase by which hardcore Christians and conservatives are referring to a menage a trois performed by 2 men and 1 woman. Possibly because the rate of men to women makes the scale dip slightly towards homosexuality, or because the 2 tempters taking an innocent woman in sin. So it's the devil's three-way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you guys didn't think you were going to learn anything today listening to us.
It's great writing.
What
a great line.
It's so funny.
But anyway.
You wouldn't hear that in a Marvel movie.
That's right.
Yeah, the movie, if you guys haven't guessed, is super trashy.
Oh, yeah.
But in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It's the most, like, 80s slasher homage type movie
for sure
ever. I loved it.
I have to say, 15 minutes in, Blair, I wanted her dead.
Oh, yeah.
So bad and so graphically.
Yeah. She's one of the worst characters in film.
Sure. For sure.
You know you're doing a good job writing a character when you hate them that much.
Yeah. After all the friends arrive, I literally wrote down, maybe she isn't the worst, because they're all the worst. They're all just horrible people. I'm excited, though, because this is a pool party massacre.
Yeah.
So they're stepping into hell. They're going to get butchered.
I love the scene where it shows the wall of tools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the killer's just picking a different tool to kill each person.
Unbelievable. It was such a unique way of shooting it, because let's just say he grabs the hammer.
Yeah.
We see a hammer death. Yeah. Then it shows him putting a bloody hammer back on the wall.
Yeah.
And kind of moving his hand. I'm gonna take these.
Yeah.
Like pruning shears.
Yeah.
And then that kill happens, and he puts them back.
Yep.
It was great. Yeah. I've never seen something like that before.
No. And it was super cool. I'd like to have a T-shirt of all the bloody weapons like
cool.
on the wall.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we obviously, the killer is always shown from usually about the waist down or chest down. We can see it's a bigger man.
Yeah.
But we don't know who. We don't see anything other than his hands and like mechanic coverall type things.
Yeah, almost like a point of view shot of him. There's one scene. Okay, I'll spoil something right now.
Go ahead.
Not a scary movie.
Right.
But there's one scene that creeped me out.
Okay.
And it was the lady having the tea party with the doll.
My next note as well.
It's so scary.
She is bizarre.
Yeah.
That woman was insane. And did you notice the way that she walked?
Yeah.
That was weird too.
And the doll moves.
Yeah.
Like,
just a super weird thing.
Yeah.
But
it's just one of those like few second scenes just dropped in there, and then you're like, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah.
I do have all the kills. We'll just kind of talk about them because we pick them at the end.
Yeah.
But the kills are great.
They are.
They're some are a lot better than others.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, not a lot actually. He shows a decent amount. Like
quite a bit of gore and stuff.
A lot of gore, a lot of
something clearly with not a lot of budget.
Exactly. Got there's one we'll talk about in a few minutes here, but the granny ends up getting, I think it was it a pickaxe or something in her head?
Yeah.
So you get the typical shot where he'd be swinging it. Now he didn't have something to actually drive the pickaxe into, which you would see in a higher budget horror movie.
Yeah.
But it works. You see the guy swing, and then it cuts to the woman, and that woman, did you notice she opens her eyes and gets her eye completely filled with that blood?
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. Just filled her eye up, and she just carried on.
Yep.
Blink, blink, twitching as her skull is bleeding. It was crazy. Good acting on her part.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah.
One character I'm curious... Oh, sorry, were you done with the kill thing?
I'm done, yeah.
That I'm curious of your thoughts on. Clay.
Okay. Clay, when we first meet Clay, is my favorite character.
Yes.
Hilarious.
So funny.
After a few minutes of meeting Clay, he's joined the crew of the others.
Yeah.
Now, not right away. He's still very funny, putting the lotion on and all that stuff.
Hilarious.
It's more so later on, the scene.
Yeah.
Which is just before his death scene.
Yeah.
But fuck, that annoyed me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate this guy. But it was funny. And it worked.
He has a great line, too. If I was held back one more year, we would have went to high school together.
Yeah. It just makes you think, like, because, okay, is he talking about her entering, like, junior year or freshman year, and he'd be held back for the third year in a row or something? Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good, funny stuff.
And right before his death, did you notice he grabs a picture of Drew?
Yes. Yes. And that was the other thing. The family portraits on the wall.
Yeah.
The one guy stands out so much, right?
Yeah.
That I knew at that point that this is probably going to be our guy.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I did not see the ending coming. I didn't know what we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, like his inspiration.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But the family portrait, this guy stands out so much that you're like, this fucking guy's got to be something in this movie. And turns out we'll see in the end. But yeah, it was funny. Yeah, Clay though, he was great at first, and then I was just like, Jesus Christ, Clay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I hate you now.
Yeah.
But,
again, like, such good character work that you're just like, fuck, this guy's annoying.
yes.
Like...
Now, there is a kill where the woman is showering and she mentioned she wants a razor to shave her, what she calls her landing strip. Now, I found this particularly funny because the killing weapon is a weed whacker, and he kind of goes under the shower curtain, so it's almost like hitting her, what would be her bush area. It was funny, man. A good movie. A lot of blood splatter in this house.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a shitty cleanup for that, dealing with all that blood.
Yeah,
But,
where was the cleaner coming in for this one?
It was good. I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this or not, but after the death of the woman in the shower, she's wearing a shower cap because she doesn't want to get her hair wet.
Right.
After she dies, they film the bloody water, and there's something floating in there. Was that the shower cap? Do you know? Do you remember that? I watched it 3 times. I rewound it 3 times to see. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm guessing it has to be the shower cap just
Probably.
because she made so many mentions about not getting her hair wet and everything that it's implied that it fell off and her hair is now soaking in the water.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Her hair finally got wet.
It was weird. I was like, what the hell is that? Because it was such bloody water and something kind of floating in there. But anyway, you didn't see it, so I'll move on. Yeah, my next note is about the family portrait and the guy who it turns out to be the killer.
Yeah, Blaine.
Blaine, yes. And
did you know he's the writer and director?
I didn't when watching it, but I did when I looked it up.
All right.
He looks like he's lost weight, I think.
Yeah. I feel like this has turned into a suck Drew's dick kind of podcast.
Right.
But he's gotten himself in really good shape.
Yeah.
He's always running and
working
out and stuff. I've talked to him recently about deadlifting and stuff like that. So he's... He's
quite a bit bigger in this. This was, 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah. I started following him after watching this.
Yeah.
And you see some of his posts, he looks like quite a bit different.
Yeah.
But, the big beard, the long hair.
Yeah.
It's still, you can see him in there. So.
Exactly.
The motive for the killer, like I say, I didn't really figure that was going to be the thing. Like, it was a brother, like she wanted him to kill all of her friends.
Yeah, so she could be the prettiest and most successful one.
I didn't really think of that.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, well, when you first hear it, you're like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh no, she's one of the shittiest people. Like, this could totally
for sure.
be real.
And he has some really funny dialogue.
Oh, it's so great.
I mean, he's talking like, I'm fucking pretty good at this shit. Like, it's like, okay.
I finally found something I'm good at.
I'm good at, yeah.
And she's just like, how many people did you kill? And she's like almost scolding him.
Yes.
She's like, and the pizza boy?
Yeah, and we'll talk about kills, but the pizza boy, hilarious.
It's so good.
Yeah, and he's running through like, I killed, the old lady. It's like, why? It's like, she got in the way. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You see that shit in 80s movies,
Mm-hmm.
Just like we mentioned earlier. It's a homage type thing to those slashers of the 80s.
You get a straight up reference basically to the Slumber Party Massacre.
Right.
With the giant drill.
Right, yes.
That's how Clay meets his end.
That's right.
And I laughed at that because it shows him like unplugging an iPhone.
Yes.
And then plugging the drill in.
That's right. And that's exactly what you'd see these days. It's it's perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. I don't have any other notes other than my wrap up, so if you have anything else you want to talk about, throw it at me.
Last thing is amazing final shot. Where she's like walking away.
Yeah.
And the balcony.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there looking out.
Sets up.
It's so good. I want 10 more of these
Yeah,
movies.
and that's probably why he put that,
Yeah.
I could do this again, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like those 80 ones, you think it's over, the killer's dead, and
Up out of the lake.
there you go. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Let's run through some kills, will we?
Run through some kills. So there are 12 kills, a lot of kills in it. Well, maybe 11. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So the first woman gets her throat slit with the saw. She's waiting by the pool.
Yep.
The pool guy gets a screwdriver in his eye. That happens off screen, so we don't see that one.
Mm-hmm.
Claw hammer under the jaw.
Yeah.
So that one was pretty cool.
Looked like something you'd see the Punisher do.
Right. Now, you might know this. I'm not sure. Is that his wife? Like Drew's wife? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Because I read the credits. Did you read the credits?
No.
I recommend whoever watches this stick right through the credits because he writes some shit in there. And like when they do thank you.
Yeah.
So he thanks all like the whatever companies may have been shown or whatever. And he says in there, "Thank you to my wife, whatever her name is, for letting me kill you with a claw hammer."
Oh.
And I don't know if he just practiced it on her to see what it would look like, or if she actually played the woman who gets killed.
Yeah, maybe.
So, anyway.
It makes sense that it's her.
So that one, the old lady gets a pickaxe into her head. There's an axe chop to the throat. There's an axe chop to the head. Pizza guy, now this is the pizza guy, gets saw rammed into him, and then it's sawed across his stomach, and his guts fall
Yeah.
out.
They look hilarious.
He's
Looks
kind
like
of
breakfast sausage.
Exactly. And there's blood everywhere. It's great. Clay gets drilled through the chest, through the wall. So he drills through the wall, comes through him.
While jerking off.
While jerking off.
To a picture of her mother.
That's right. The showering lady, she gets weed whacked to death. They're stabbed through a door with a machete. And then the guy gets stabbed in the guts with the machete.
Yeah.
And then Blair gets her head chopped with the axe.
Yeah.
And I wrote 12, but the guy who gets stabbed with the machete is technically alive at the end, so I don't think that he dies. So 11 or 12, whatever way you look at it. My favorite was definitely the claw hammer to the jaw.
Me too.
It just looks so cool. I've never really seen anything like that. Seeing the claw part of a hammer in somebody's mouth as they're as he's fucking jerking her around. It was really good.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Worst kill, I don't have one. None of them stood out as bad.
No, they were all fun.
If you're gonna pick the worst, I'd pick the screwdriver in the eyeball just because we didn't see it.
Yeah.
However, what we do see of it is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It looked really cool.
He's just like laying there in the corner.
Through his sunglasses, I think. So, yeah, it was cool. Nothing made you jump, you said?
No.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. Do you have a rating? Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, well, we will do spooky, scary, terrifying.
Right.
It's none of them.
Yeah, that's true.
It's... If gore bothers you, maybe.
Yeah.
But other than that, this is just a fun horror movie.
If you're like us,
yeah,
you're going to love it. Like,
yeah, if you're
gory.
fucked up at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, ratings.
Ratings. Okay. You're going to be higher than I am.
Yeah.
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So, you go ahead with yours.
I'm going to say 8.5.
Okay. Now, you know that I use Letterboxd.
Mm-hmm.
I log everything so that I can keep track of how many movies I watch.
Yeah.
Now, when you log something, you can scroll down and see what other people have done. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, can I read this review to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Pool Party Massacre is a low-budget 80s-inspired slasher film that was made for only $6,000 and a ton of favors. Using only practical effects and tons of humor, the movie sets out to capture the same wacky spirit that campy 80s slashers like Slumber Party Massacre, April Fool's Day, Sleepaway Camp, and Happy Birthday to Me possessed, but in a modern setting. Does this movie achieve this? Is it fun to watch? I don't know. I made the movie, so I don't think it's up to me to decide. But hopefully it does. Hopefully you like it. My mom said it was way better than she thought it would be, so I got that going for me. Written by D. Marvick on Letterboxd.
That's hilarious.
And the funniest part about this, he gave it a 4.5 out of possible 5. He didn't even give his own movie a perfect score, which after reading that, I had to find him on Instagram, and I wrote him. I was like, hey, I watched the movie. It was great. Mm-hmm. I was like, I loved the review you wrote on Letterboxd. And he wrote me back, and he's like, hey, thanks. Oh, I totally forgot about that. That I wrote that. It's good to remember or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. But I just found that funny that 4.5 out of 5, and it's written by the guy who made the movie. That's
hilarious.
It was very good.
Yeah, he's so cool with like all his fans and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like I see stuff at like conventions that he's at. He's like, hey, like I had to leave, but here's a bunch of movies, like first come, first serve, or like here's some stickers, and like at one of them he had a fanny pack on with French fries.
Nice. Yeah. Once I followed him, you can scroll through his past history and stuff, and there is a lot of stuff with fans and at conventions and stuff like that. And
yeah.
Just the fact that I followed him, and a day or two later, I wrote him something, and he wrote me back later that day.
Yeah.
That just shows, like, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Accessible for the moment.
Yeah.
Who knows if he will be forever, but...
yeah. Hopefully not. I hope he gets so big in the horror movie realm
that you got to keep these messages that you have with him, and then you can say, hey, look, I was here from the beginning.
Yeah. The new Marvick House horror film.
That's right. Yeah. That's all I have, though.
Yeah. That'll do it for this episode.
Oh, before we log off here.
Yes.
Post-credit scene. You didn't watch it?
Oh, no.
Okay, so do you remember the neighbor across the street at the beginning who's like pruning his shears, or what is that called?
Pruning.
Pruning your shears?
Nope.
No.
You're taking a stroke right now. Pruning your hedges.
There we go.
The shears are what does the
pruning, right. So he's pruning his hedges, and they're like, look at that guy. He's a fucking creep. That guy is at the end, after the credits roll, and he's like, I knew they were fucking serial killers. Those creepy kids or whatever he says. It's really funny.
That's awesome.
So do watch post-credit shit.
Yeah. So now,
yes,
we have a little bit of a treat for you. We actually reached out to Drew.
Yep.
Which is probably not surprising, the amount we talked about talking to him.
Right.
And we asked him a few questions. He recorded some answers. You might be wondering, hey, why didn't you guys just do an interview? Our internet is terrible.
Awful.
So until we get that sorted out, this is how we'll have to do things like this. I sent him a list of questions. He's going to read them out and do some answers. Thank you very much, Drew, for doing this. We appreciate it, and hope you guys enjoy listening to it.
Hello, this is Drew Marvick, filmmaker, actor, and dad to everyone he meets. This is my interview for the Watchers podcast. Enjoy. What are you currently working on? Well, very currently, as in I will be leaving for set in about an hour. I am working on a commercial campaign that is not exciting to talk about at all. My day job, I guess you would say, that I've been doing for almost 20 years now is producing commercials. That's kind of been my bread and butter. Unfortunately, I cannot survive on acting and making horror movies alone because I have a house and 2 kids, and they require things like PlayStation 5s and Raising Cane's chicken tenders on a regular basis. So I produce commercials, and I've been really busy lately now that the world's reopening. So I have been working on a slew of not exciting commercials, which will continue for the next 2 months Luckily, I have some conventions peppered in between, and hopefully I can get a couple feature films scheduled. I am in the process of rewriting Pool Party Massacre 2 for the 15th time so that we can finally make that. And I have several projects that I'm acting in that are on the table that we'll shoot soon, but I don't think any of them are announced as of the moment of me recording this, so I don't think I can mention any of them. I don't. Tapehead Part 2. I can mention that one because that's been announced that I'm in it, and I'm excited about that. Micro budget slasher. I'm really excited to be a part of that one. A very small part, but every other film I don't think has been announced yet. So that's all I can say about that, unfortunately. Stay tuned for Pool Party Massacre 2 someday before I die. Hopefully. What was the most fun part of making Pool Party Massacre? Well, I love the whole process, honestly. I mean, that's a cheesy answer, but I really do. So just making art and making movies is fun for me. I mean, that's why I do this for a living, even though I just, in the previous answer, got done saying I was making boring, uninteresting commercials. I still really enjoy what I do, and I feel like I'm lucky to get to do it for a living. So to take that and then do it untethered in Pool Party Massacre and be able to make something without a client, without an ad agency, without anyone breathing down my neck or telling me how they need things, that freedom was amazing. And so whenever I get to do a project of my own, I love it, or collaborate on something where I'm set free. It's a dream come true. So Pool Party Massacre was that. I mean, it was just my baby. It was me doing whatever came to mind, for better or for worse. I mean, luckily people seem to enjoy it. But that's really what it was. Me making a movie with what little I had and seeing if I can make something entertaining. Or at least something that I thought my 13-year-old self would have enjoyed. That's what I kept saying when we were making the movie, that I'm making this movie for my 13-year-old self is going to love this movie. And I stand by that. He would have. So the whole thing was fun. But I guess if I have to pinpoint, for the sake of this interview, one thing that was the most fun, I would say it was working with my family. It was very much a family affair. Making the movie, the majority of the movie was shot at my parents' house, so they were even there for parts of it, and my kids were there for more than half the movie, more than half the production. My kids were on set somewhere. I mean, they definitely weren't when we were shooting anything inappropriate, but pretty much every other day they were there, so I loved that. And then they were involved. They would help. I mean, they loved being on set. They loved, working the blood sprayer when we would allow them to, and things like that. So that was my favorite part. And looking back at the photos and seeing, my kids behind the monitor, or just in some of the BTS photos, always makes me smile. And I love that they got to be a part of that, and that they still are. I mean, they both are on sets. Constantly have been in feature films and commercials, and been on lots of sets and convention floors and panel rooms and green rooms. So I mean, they're very used to it, and I like that, and they enjoy it. So my favorite part, the most fun part, was having my family there, and even my friends. I mean, the cast and crew were friends of mine. I mean, they're people. I mean, some of them I hadn't met yet, but they quickly became friends, and the rest were friends. I mean, when you're making a movie without money, you call in favors and you call your friends and your family, and that's how it works. So the whole thing was kind of like a party, in a way. I mean, a boring party. No drugs or alcohol, just fake blood and sandwiches from Costco. On the flip side, what was the hardest part of making Pool Party Massacre? Well, in reality, the hardest part was scheduling. It's not a fun answer, but it's 100% was the hardest part. Even with as small of a cast and crew that we had, which was very intentional, it was still scheduling because, again, when you're making a micro-budget movie and you can't afford to pay people properly what they deserve for their time, you can't ask them or expect them to turn down other jobs or to take time off of their normal job because they need to pay their bills as well. So I appreciate that. So I worked completely around everyone's schedule. And in doing so, when you have that many people, it's very difficult. And over the span of the 6 months it took us to shoot Pool Party Massacre, not only did people change jobs, but we had people move. My cinematographer moved to Orlando from Las Vegas before we finished shooting, which made scheduling a little harder. One of the lead actors moved to L.A., which, again, now then I had to add in purchasing flights and a whole new element of scheduling, and she had a whole new job that she had to work around and ask for time off or switch days. And so all of those elements, and even my own schedule, I mean, I still had to work when things came up. So scheduling was definitely the hardest part, for sure. I mean, the rest, my goal is always just to have fun. I mean, that's why I wanted to make movies to begin with, because it looked like it would be fun, and I loved watching them so much. I thought, man, making them's got to be just as fun. It isn't always, unless you try and make sure that it is, and that's what I always do. What advice would you give to someone wanting to make their own movie? Well, the simplest advice is to just make your movie, whatever it is. If a lot of people are afraid to fail, I see it every day in this business, and it was kind of the motivation for me to make Pool Party Massacre when I did. I'm surrounded by extremely talented people. When I'm on a big film set or a commercial set, I mean, most of the people around me are far more talented than I am. They are people that have, studied their craft. They've gone through film school. They are really good cinematographers, editors, G&E people, gaffers, grips. They can light. They can shoot. A lot of them can do everything. They can light. They can shoot. They can edit. They can write. But they're afraid to fail. They don't want to make a movie that isn't good or that isn't well received, because it's what they've wanted to do their entire life. And fortunately for me, I don't have that. I don't enjoy failing, but I'm not afraid to fail. I embrace it and I learn from it. And I fall on my face all the time. I fall on my face for a living, in a way. So I wasn't afraid to fail, and so I would tell them, these talented people that I'm constantly surrounded by, that they need to get out and do it. And then I started saying, I'll make a movie. I'll show you. And that's kind of where it was born from. And so I did. I don't know what I showed them. I guess I showed them it's okay to fall on your face or take a machete to the chest. It's all right. It's not a big deal. I would just say make something. Anything. A short film, a fan film, just a 30-second skit, anything. Just start creating. Get familiar with the process. Get the fear, if you have any fear or apprehension, get over it and start making things. But also, be smart. Use your assets. I guess that's the best advice. Once you are going to make something, look at your assets. What do you have to work with? Whether it's money, whether it's a house, certain props, cars, people, whatever. Does your grandpa own a factory that you can shoot in the middle of the night? Okay, well then maybe write something that shoots in a factory because that's production value and that's a really cool location. You know, do you run a car lot? Do you have access to cars? Okay, then use that. Whatever it is. If you live in the middle of the desert, write something that takes place in the desert then. Don't write something that takes place in a forest and make your life harder. And keep budget in mind. I have people send me scripts constantly that they want me to read them either for advice or to potentially direct or star in. And most of them don't have money attached. They're going to do a crowdfunding or they have a little bit of money. You know, they'll send me a script and say, we have $20,000 to make this. And I'll read the opening. And the opening has fighter jets and tanks and explosions and whatever, a kaiju monster coming out of the ground. I mean, I don't think, as a producer, my brain is always on budget. Always. And I think some people forget that. So make sure you write accordingly. If you don't have a budget, but you have access to a cabin in the woods, that's how Cabin in the Woods slashers were made. Play to your strengths. That's, I think that's the biggest advice once you get down to making something. What movies influenced the making of Pool Party Massacre? I feel like every movie I've ever watched influenced it in some way. My brain works in movies. I'm constantly accidentally quoting movie dialogue in my day-to-day life and desperately hoping that my life will play out as fantastically or romantically as movies do, the movies I watched growing up do. It still hasn't yet. But so I'm sure so many have in one way, shape, or form. But I think the biggest direct influences would be movies like Slumber Party Massacre, of course, not just in title, but just the way the movie played out in a large part. And even the killer and some of the weapons choices. But other 80s slashers, April Fool's Day, Happy Birthday to Me. I pulled humor from some of my favorite films from the 80s as well. A lot of horror, like the Sleepaway Camp sequels, Return of the Living Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Like that's my bread and butter. I'm a big. For some reason, I really like part twos. I think that's when movies go off the rails and start to have a little more freedom. And for some reason, that's what appeals to me. So a lot of those movies definitely influenced Pool Party Massacre. But I didn't want to copy them, which is why I set the movie in modern time and just try to kind of capture that same spirit and tone in a way. As if, I would say, if I took myself, again, my 13-year-old self, who I was making the movie for, if I took him picked him up from the late 80s and brought him to modern time and asked him to make a movie, that this is what he would make and what he would love. So yeah, all of those 80s slashers for sure influenced it. What is my favorite kill in the movie? That's a tough one. I mean, my favorite kill to make that we shot was probably the pickaxe to the head in Dora, the Crazy Neighbor, just because that day was an event. We were actually done with principal photography, and I was a local producer on a Belgian TV show that was in town. And they were in town for a couple weeks, shooting several episodes for this TV show that I was helping produce. And throughout the production process, the executive producer and the director found out that I was making a horror movie and got this idea. Wouldn't it be great? It was a reality show from Belgium about a very famous person there who hosted their version of like American Idol, I think it was, or America's Got Talent. And he had done lots of other things. And his mom, him bringing his mom, his like 70-year-old mom, on these adventures with him. And that was the show. And they got this bright idea that, hey, why don't you put his mom in your American horror movie and you kill her? That would be hilarious. And instead of telling them that I was already done shooting the movie and missing an opportunity to do something fun, I said, of course. And I wrote that scene. I added that character and made it happen. So we shot that. That was not part of the movie. And people, after hearing that story, usually have an aha moment and like, oh, well, that makes sense because it was so out of the box. This strange character that didn't speak English just shows up for a moment and gets killed. And that's why. But so we shot that scene with this giant television film crew. Well, not giant, but giant compared to our crew for the movie. Shooting on 3 cameras, like shooting the TV show of us making the movie while we killed this guy's mother with a pickaxe who didn't speak a word of English. She had no idea what was going on. She was just a trooper. So that whole thing was fun. I enjoyed that one a lot. I think most people expect me to say the hammer kill, which also was a lot of fun to make. It was our first kill on the movie, so everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it was a lot harder than we thought it was going to be, or at least than I thought it was going to be to pull off. But that one was it was a lot of fun too, because my kids were there, my parents were there, everyone. That was probably the most people we had on set of any day, because it was the first kill that we did. And it's the most iconic, I think. It's on the back of the packaging. I mean, we've used it for stickers and pins and shirts and you name it. So that one was a lot of fun. But I don't like to use it because the actress who I kill with a hammer is now my ex-wife. So there's something about saying my favorite part of the movie was killing my ex-wife with a hammer that is both satisfying but also scary and creepy. And to be clear, she's still alive. She's still my friend. I talk to her almost every day. But yeah, I don't like to go around saying my favorite thing was killing my ex-wife with a hammer. When she was my wife, it was kind of fun to say, I killed my wife with a hammer. But I should stop saying that sentence before I get flagged by the FBI through my phone. What's the next question? 3 favorite movies, any genre. There's one thing about me. I am not good at picking favorites of anything. And it's not how my brain works. I am an overthinker, so I can't do it. I just can't. I could ramble right now for hours and talk in circles and never land on 3 favorite movies if I was trying to really give you my 3 favorite movies, which is why I don't ever do that. I just pick from this giant list of movies that I love, that I could say my 300 favorite movies, and they just rotate because there's so many movies that I love, and enjoying a film is so dependent on outside factors. It depends on the company that you're with, the setting you're in, the mood that you're in. Honestly, I mean, when you're watching a movie that you already know you love, I think it's way more forgiving. But your first time watch of a movie, without a doubt, is influenced by all of those outside factors. So, when asked to pick favorite movies, it changes. If you went and looked at every interview I've done in the last 10 years, if I've been asked that question, most likely the answers are different. There are a few common movies that always pop up. So I'll give you those because they are on my favorites list. And to go back to a question, a little callback, A lot of my favorite movies are sequels, more specifically part twos, especially in the horror genre. I mean, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 over Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 1 any day of the week. I like the first one. It's a classic. But personally, I'm a Part 2 guy. Slumber Party Massacre. I love Slumber Party Massacre Part 2. So that's on the list for sure. It just is batshit crazy. It makes no sense. And I love it. Sleepaway Camp Part 2. All of the sequels, but Part 2 is great. Love that movie. So I'm a big fan of Part 2s. So I'll pick those as my 3 favorite movies for today. One that people are usually shocked by, I'll throw in a bonus 4th movie, The Princess Bride. I also love that movie. I wish it was a Part 2. It would have fit into the answer better. But that was a bonus. What is your favorite horror movie memory? Ooh. That's interesting. Well, when I'm not exactly sure of my age, 8, 10 years old. Let's say I was 10 years old. My parents took me to Cleveland, Ohio for a family reunion. I grew up in Southern California, so we left California to go to Cleveland, Ohio for a family reunion and to meet a bunch of family that, honestly, I, at 10, had never met, or if I had, I didn't remember them. It was distant relatives. And we were staying with family that I didn't really know, and the next door neighbors had kids. A kid my age, a son my age, a son younger, and a son older. And they were out in the street playing street hockey. I ended up meeting them, having a limited interaction with them. And my mom thought this was great, that I had made friends. We were going to be there all week. So she introduced herself to the mom, and somehow the two of them hatched a plan that I would spend the night at that house. This house where 3 children I had met an hour before, and their parents, who I had never even met yet, I was just going to sleep over. Welcome to the 80s. So, I mean, granted, in hindsight, I'm sure my mom's aunt who lived next door may have known them really well and vouched for them. But still, I was staying at a house with adults I had never met, and my mom had never met until minutes before that. And the concept of that is mind-boggling to me. But it happened, and we all piled into the mom's station wagon, picked up a pizza, or several pizzas, and stopped at the video rental store, and each of her sons got to pick out a movie. I have no memory of what the 2 younger sons picked out, but the son that was older than us picked out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. We ate pizza, we watched the movies in order of their age. It was probably like an Ernest movie, and then another Ernest movie, and then the oldest, the teenage son, put on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And by that time it was dark, it was late, we were all in sleeping bags, like on their living room floor. He popped the movie in, it was pitch black, the lights were off, and by the time it got to the opening scene of the movie, on the bridge, I looked around and every one of them was asleep. I was the only person awake in this strange house that I had never been in, that I didn't know my way around, and I was terrified to do anything. By the end of that scene on the bridge, I was paralyzed in my sleeping bag with my eyes wide open, and I watched the entire movie by myself, terrified in this stranger's house. And I'll never forget it. And now it's a fond memory, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is one of my favorite movies, and I've met most of the cast, and I love that movie. But that night, I think it changed me forever, because I was both terrified and scared, but I also couldn't close my eyes for some reason. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. So I do think that night shaped the movies that I like to this day. And I remember it very vividly. It's one of my most vivid 10-year-old memories, is that night in Cleveland with Leatherface and Stretch. I don't know the kids' names at all. Barely remember my aunt's name. So that's my favorite horror movie memory for today. If you could introduce yourself... Oh, this is not a question I'm supposed to read out loud, is it? You just want me to introduce myself. I think I did that in the beginning. So I guess that's all the questions. Let me double check. What are you currently working on? What was the most fun part of making Pool Party? What was the hardest part? Advice, movies influenced, favorite kill. That's it. We did it all. We've done it all. Hopefully, I didn't ramble too much. If I did, I apologize. Hopefully there's something in there that someone wants to hear. You never know. But thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate it. If you need anything else from me, let me know. If you want better answers, just let me know. I'll change them all. Completely. I have no shame. But, yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. And anyone that's listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Watchers Podcast. I'm Drew Marvick from Pool Party Massacre, and thank you for listening to the Watchers Podcast. Enjoy your day. Try not to die.
That'll do it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and be sure to follow so you catch every other episode of Watchers Podcast, and we will be seeing you. No, we won't see you, but you'll hear us next week.
That's right.
Bye.